Welcome back to Psycholoy Saxena. I'm your host Saxena. So, when we think about 1st January, we think about new beginning. But January 1st is also a powerful day in the history of psychology. On this day, human mental health care began. Great psychologists were born and laws were passed that still affect therapy today. Stay with me till the end because the final moment still saves life. Let's go back to the year 1796. In York, England, most people with mental illness were treated cruelly. They were chained, locked away, and feared. But on January 1st, the York Retreat held its first executive committee meeting. It was founded by the Quakers, led by William Touquet. Instead of punishment, they offered kindness. Instead of isolation, they offered dignity. This became one of the first places to treat mental illnesses with humanity. 1851, in Utica, New York, patient inside a mental asylum did something unheard of. They published a newspaper. Its motto was devoted to usefulness. This meant patients were no longer silent. They were writing, thinking, participating. They were human beings with voices. Ernest Jones, 1879. On January 1st, 1879, Ernest Jones was born. He became one of Sigmund Freud's closest allies. After others left Freud, Jones stayed. He brought psychoanalysis to England and wrote Freud's most famous biography. In 1889, James McKeen Cattell became the first professor officially titled Professor of Psychology in the United States. This helped psychology become a real science, not just philosophy. Jean Walker McPherson was born in 1894. She led one of the longest human development studies ever. Her work taught us something important. There is no single path to normal development. People grow in many different ways. In 1914, Wolfgang Kohler studied chimpanzees on a remote island. During World War I, he was trapped, but during this isolation, he noticed something incredible. Chimpanzees solve problems through sudden understanding. This became known as insight learning. Sometimes being stuck leads to discovery. In 1905, Clifford W. Beers wrote a 1500-word version of his autobiography in 3 days at the Yale Club in New York City. A second version was written a few weeks later at the Hartford retreat during a brief voluntary commitment. The third version, which was to become a mind that found itself, the manifesto of the mental hygiene movement, was begun on August 26, 1905. In 1925, John B. Watson entered advertising, changing marketing forever. In 1925, Psychologist John B. Watson was named vice president at the J. Walter Thompson Advertising Agency. In 1925, the APA made its first payment towards purchase of Howard C. Warren's Psychological Review Company. Warren's Journal became the first to be published by the APA. The transfer was completed in 1929 by Warren's gift of his remaining 46% share. In 1926, Jack G. Wiggins was born. Wiggins has conducted research on depression, selective perceptions, and projective techniques. He helped found the National Register of Health Service Provider in Psychology and the Council for the Advancement of the Psychological Practices and Science, and has advocated public funding of psychological services. In 1927, the journal Psychological Abstract began publishing abstracts of psychological literature previously published in Psychological Bulletin. In 1979, there were two most important events. The APA Office of Ethnic and Cultural Affairs first opened. Esteban Olmedo, former Associate Director of the UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. A Spanish-speaking mental health research center was the first director, and second one, the APA Monitor announced that the American Psychologist and the APA Monitor would be available in tape recorded edition, primarily for use by blind persons. In 1980, the clinical classification system of the third edition of the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder DSM-3 officially replaced by the second edition of DSM system. In 1986, California passed the first duty to protect law. This followed the Tarasoff case. The ruling said that protecting human life can be more important than confidentiality. Today, this law guides therapies worldwide.